Logitical Response.
You know, Joe is a
dictator.
Mind out of the gutter right now.
Right now, of course, we have the Putin price hike.
Putin price hike.
The Putin price hike.
I think you get the idea of that.
The Putin price hike.
Putin's price hike.
The Putin's price hike. Putin price hike. Putin price hike.
Okay, I get the point. You think Vladimir Putin's responsible for it? That's all we've been hearing about. Putin price hike. Putin price hike. You know, it's terrible when you have a guy that has been in government for 50 plus years. Oh wait, never mind. Yeah, that's right. They don't take the blame for anything. You would have figured that, you know, accountability and all, but no. They expect others to be accountable for their actions, but it's all Putin's fault,
Putin's
right?
price hike.
Like, I guess inflation is my fault. Speaking of that, didn't the gas prices and inflation start taking off well before Putin started doing all of his crap?
Despite what President Biden says, inflation was a major concern way before Putin's invasion.
It just seems kind of convenient that he's wanting to blame everything on Putin, but how much oil do we actually get from Russia?
Putin's price hike.
2.7%. So Biden's basically telling the American people a loss of 2.7% oil we buy every single day. Doubled the price in gas. Yeah. See, this is where it doesn't make any sense, because the gas prices started jumping before Putin invaded Ukraine, before the massive buildup in the weeks prior to the invasion. So the gas price doubled within a few months before President Biden stopped buying oil from Russia, and he's blaming that on Putin. That doesn't make any sense. If you just heard what I said and were lost, that's how it happened. Somehow he thinks he can blame Putin for raising the gas price for invading Ukraine before he did it. That doesn't make sense.
And you know, in 2020, we were just about... We didn't have to... So, Mr. Joe Biden, this falls squarely on your... If you would allow to go through, down all the... We wouldn't have these we have right now. So, you trying to... Putin doesn't sit well with Americans. And I'm an American. But that's not the only problem.
Putin, listen to me.
We got all kinds of problems.
I have a very important message to you.
There's these people.
In some public remarks this week, you said the country needs to talk about when it might be willing to send troops to Ukraine.
This one guy in particular.
While Republicans continue to talk about it and didn't do nothing about it.
I don't know what planet this guy has been living on, but it's not Earth. And he definitely hasn't been paying attention to the news. He's trying to make it sound like Joe Biden is the reason the economy is going good right now. Because, listen to this.
The economy was on the verge of collapse when President Biden first took office.
What he didn't mention is when Joe came in, the economy had just been restarted thanks to all those lockdowns we had. So, yeah, of course, there's gonna be a major surge, but the economy was almost shut off completely.
The American Rescue Plan helped to turn that around.
They're trying to count people going back to work after the lockdowns.
7.4 million good-paying jobs created.
Then you're gonna go claiming all these jobs like they're new jobs and you did it. Well, no. Finally get out of quarantine and we can go back to work. That's not new jobs. That's putting people back at their old jobs.
During President Biden's first 14 months in office, that's a record.
It's not.
In American presidential history, fastest rate of economic growth in 40 years.
He once again forgot to mention the economy was shut off.
Unemployment down to an incredible low of 3.8%. When President Biden took office, it was 6.4%. Wages have increased, and all of that has been accomplished while reducing the deficit by more than $350 billion in President Biden's first year. And so that's a foundation for us to continue to act. It also should provide some evidence that Democrats will continue to deliver and get things done for everyday Americans.
You can't claim a victory like you're claiming because we're not even back to where we was at before COVID. Stuff doesn't work that way. And as a matter of fact, from what I understand, a whole hell of a lot of companies are still understaffed. I don't buy it. The American people don't buy it. This dude is just off his rocker.
But you all, not you all, but now it is, well, Biden's that one poll showed him at 33%. The average is 44, 45%. I don't believe the polls.
Well, in his defense, polls can be very misleading.
I'm not quite sure what the disconnect is between the accomplishments of the administration and this Congress.
There is no disconnect between the people, the Congress, and Joe Biden. When your failures greatly outweigh your accomplishments, people are upset with you when you're the President of the United States. So the only disconnect is your disconnect to reality. Kablam! Thank you. Come again, please.
Hey.
Says those price jumps are happening because of the war. Remember, prices started spiking well before the war in Ukraine began.
And they're trying to blame, of course, the Russian president and the invasion of Ukraine for the jump in prices. But of course, as polling suggests, this president is going to take a lot of the blame here.
But most Americans aren't buying it.
Despite what President Biden says, inflation was a major concern way before Putin's invasion.
There's not a single thing America can't do when we do it together as the United States of America.
Russian soldiers. Watch.
In some public remarks this week, you said the country needs to talk about when it might be willing to send troops to Ukraine.
If Vladimir Putin, who has shown us how brutal he can be, is allowed to just continue to massacre civilians, to commit war crimes throughout Ukraine without NATO, without the West coming more forcefully to his aid, I deeply worry that what's going to happen next is that we will see Ukraine turn into Syria. Mm-hmm. The American people cannot turn away from this tragedy in Ukraine. I think the history of the 21st century turns on how fiercely we defend freedom in Ukraine, and that Putin will only stop when we stop him.
I'm doing everything within my power by executive orders to bring down the price and address the